whatever exercise we try to do, we want to start out real slow in the beginning, really. I'm not even doing the best of that. I'm just giving some examples. But hey, we're talking about finger exercises, and we're just talking about increasing your dexterity, clarity, and speed, and all kinds of different patterns with your fretting hand, right? And the picking, I'm talking about using a plectrum, a pick, right? So that way you can really get that accurate picking. But practice doing stuff without a pick. Don't get me wrong when you're playing, of course. Do arpeggios, etc. We're just talking about finger exercises at the moment, and I'm just talking about simple patterns. These are really simple, but maybe some of them might seem simple at first, but when you actually try them, you're thinking, wow, okay, this might take me some practice to really get good at it. So a lot of repetition to get any particular pattern really good, right? A lot of times you realize how unable you might be to do that particular pattern or operation that you're trying to do on the fretboard, or with especially your fretting hand in those cases. So that's why you do want to practice all kinds of various finger exercises and so forth. So a lot of people they dismiss them and just only practice the songs you want to play or something like that. Well, maybe that's part of why you're having maybe a hard time playing some songs, especially the first times you play it, is because that's why you want to really try all these different kinds of finger exercises, in my opinion. But yeah, so, and like I said, turnarounds as well, when you're going down and up, that part in itself is its own, part of a pattern a lot of times. So, going up and down, really slowing down and perfecting those parts the best you can, and any particular pattern, everyone, we get good at the ones we practice the most, right? The ones we don't, obviously, those are going to take us maybe more focus, but they probably have the most room for improvement, right? And doing different patterns will a lot of times help those previous patterns that you practice with. So yeah. Just doing that. Holding my finger on the bar, but that's going to be a bit more work probably, so I want to just do it one at a time in that case. Main thing there is when you're switching to the next string, trying to keep the same cadence. So start out slow first, to where you are keeping the same cadence, like. I never thought about that one actually. I haven't. I just tried it out for the first time, even just that one exercise. Even though I've played many different exercises and a lot, but it's just doing that one thing is kind of a new thing. Just. Or if I start backwards. once on the go. I really don't want to necessarily play that last string twice like I did, and I just want to go back up and down. So that's what I wanted to do each try really slow, right? Learn to do that one thing gives me a little bit more range, maybe in a way. Yeah, so that's just one exercise right there. Another thing too is like you have a 12-note pattern on the guitar. I mean, maybe you haven't considered this. Just one, like if you want to play just a 12 notes on a guitar string, you can start from any note, of course, and just play one fret at a time until you repeat at the same note again, an octave, what we call an octave or register higher. On the musical scales, but we're at this. In this case, we were starting at an A note, so I'd have to end up on an A note. But going through the 12-note sequence from A to A, right? So, but we can do that down the strings too. There's a couple of patterns, like we can play like here from this. Let's say from the C note, for instance, on this 8th fret, and go 2, 3, 4. And then go back a fret, and that'll be playing in that same 12-note pattern that we would go up one string if we go from the C note. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, which is back on the C note again, but just a register higher, or an octave if you're talking about a scale that takes only certain notes, typically 7 notes or 8 notes, what we call an octave, repeating this pattern again. But instead we could just go down the strings like that. And of course we have the different scales, and that's more of its own memorization and learning each scale pattern. But for now, just learning those 12 notes, you can play them like I said, you can start out from that C note right here. Any fret, the pattern's the same. And you start out from this B note right here, do the pattern from there. But we're just starting out on the C note. Doesn't really matter what note necessarily in terms of the relative structure of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go back a fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Because that's where they match. This one here, this note, which is the 12th fret in this case, matches over here to this 7th fret. Right? This should be the same. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. That 5 is the same as this note over here. So we're just going to keep, instead of going, we're going to play it over here. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back a fret, back a fret, back a fret, and then stay on the same fret. For this, go into the B string, want to stay on the same fret. And then for the last one, go back a fret. And we played through that 12-note pattern, going from a C note in this case. Right? We can also do it on the same box, if you will, but then we have to play 5 frets, which means playing an extra note. You can play it in different ways. Probably you can go from you can play from this first note, then play the first 2 notes with this finger. Actually, I'm sorry, we were playing from this fret. We can go 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the pinky sliding, right? Which is what I usually do. But you could go either way. Don't get me wrong. I like to kind of keep a general strict pattern on what I do with any particular type of movement, so I'll probably be using the pinky most of the time myself. Right? And then, so we're just doing that in the same frets for the first 4 strings. We're just going from, I'm sorry, I was on the C note here once again. Whichever one you're on, it doesn't matter in terms of the relative structure. You can play it from anywhere, but the pattern. So, but like I said, starting from the C note, just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the next one's going to be a fret higher, right? So we're on the 9th fret here, right? So and we're going to do 5 notes on there. Same one here, starts on the 9th fret. So we just played that 12-note pattern twice, going through down the fretboard in this 5 fret box, except for when you get to the last two strings, they move over one fret. So, whoops. Whoops. Kind of helps, us to understand kind of how the strings relate to each other in that sense. And like I said, the other way to do it, you could be doing back a fret, like I was showing you earlier. Except for that B string, like I said, you always want to make up one fret difference for that one, right? So just a little bit of something to kind of give you something to work on, or and like I said, if you want to just move it down to B, do the same thing. If I want to do it, not going back, but just in the same box, just same pattern. A little tricky. You want to play the whole thing, but excuse me. Practicing it probably give you a little bit more range, right? So practicing just this two pattern with any combination of fingers. I was just doing the first two at first, and it might feel awkward at first if you haven't really done that one thing, but do it with these two. Might really go back to going slow and clear. Minimize your movements, but at the same time, just start doing it first. Don't be afraid to try, right? If it feels awkward at first. Different stretches there is kind of hard to do, but the main thing, kind of getting the accuracy at first as well, but also the strength, but just kind of getting the accuracy both at the same time by practicing a bit, right? Strain on an acoustic. An electric probably easier to practice that, but I recommend practicing on an acoustic if you have one, right? Especially a steel string, because it's going to give you more. You're going to get more dexterity and strength built up from that. If you play the electric, it'll even be easier, right? Then these two fingers, I could try to do it, and that's going to take practice. Really trying to get some control. Might be easier or harder for you depending on the structure of your fingers and so forth, but you can always get better, right? Don't strain your hand too much. If you're playing like a steel string, it might be, a bit of work. You might, especially at first, you haven't developed. Understand your finger's going to be tender at first if you're not playing that much, or you haven't played at all, especially. You're going to only be able to play for a little bit at a time. Do simple exercises, get your timing and accuracy while building up. Maybe like some calluses or whatever. Like I don't really get necessarily highly notable calluses per se, but you know, you want your fingers to develop gradually. Like if keep them manicured, right? You want your fingernails getting in the way, right? Keep them clipped. That makes sense. Your fingernails, and if you have any problem with your fingers from playing a bit, so you might also change the gauge of your strings if they're too heavy or something like that. Maybe to be able to play a lot of different exercises, for example, or play a bit just in general. So I recommend that. But yeah, so those are just a few exercises. Also slides and to certain frets, doing it clearly. A lot of repetition of one thing, you know what I'm saying? It might be easier to just hold some of the three strings down or something like that. And that takes its own practice, maybe keeping your fingers more still. That's another way to kind of be more efficient, but sometimes you want that sound, in my opinion, of the pull-off type of feel that you get from just doing one finger at a time, Sometimes you might, hold several fingers at once when you're doing those lead lines and riffs. Might depend on what key you're in, stuff like that. Sometimes I'm playing something for the sake of the note pattern, but a lot of times these finger exercises I'm just playing mainly for the sake of the dexterity patterns and finger recognition, muscle memory, if you will, of the fingers, trying to develop any particular movement to where it's smooth and even potentially flawless in terms of the timing and the execution, the attack, stuff like that. Of your picking, so. And even if you don't know if it's in a scale, just try some different, Try some different patterns of different numbers of notes. Right? Maybe like this. Let me try this. Just 1, 2, 3. Even doing. We did the 1, 2, 3, 4, and different variations of that. And then we did just 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2. In terms of just 2 notes at a time, you should say. There's really 1, 4, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. That's another one that you could maybe. Practice just doing that. first. I'm messing up. Maybe stretch it out and do a pattern of a key or something you might know. Like that. So we're string skipping, practicing string skipping movements. Oh, just this. Out there a little bit, but or different numbers of notes once again, or switching them backwards and I guarantee do that one pattern enough times, you're going to get feeling much more confident about executing it smoothly, right? Gotta go slow though at first. Just do that over and over again, right? But if you practice one pattern at a time, really, for a little bit, I'm kind of jumping around a bit, but just kind of giving you some different ideas, maybe. Maybe a little bit of range in terms of being able to skip accurately between those lines. And hopefully not getting interference here. Yeah. But so it's kind of tricky. is where it comes. I'm just moving quickly through a few exercises, just practicing different stuff. But the idea is we got to do it slow at first, a good number of times. Don't forget that. So those really awkward movements, got to go back and do them over and over. Same thing with the picking. Whatever movement you try, really go slow at first. And that's what's going to help you when you're doing a lot of the fretting stuff, because you might be doing something you're trying to move quickly, and the picking hand is actually the problem, right? So, take your notes and do slow picking patterns. And speed them up gradually. One exercise and do it slow and do it a bunch of times, you're going to feel an improvement in your picking. Jump there. those are just a few things to try. So I look forward to seeing you again. Maybe check out the next video. This one here is just to kind of go through a few samples. It's not like I'm going through any one concise thing. But maybe we'll think of some other exercises you can try. And add those to some other videos. And you might want to add them into your repertoire. Practice them a few times. Maybe they'll add something to your playing. Okay, thanks for listening in. Like and subscribe for more. And I look forward to seeing you next time in the next video.